At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in and glad to have you along for the ride. Jam-packed show to get to here today. LSU football and recruiting news hosts Junior Day this past weekend, and a couple of very intriguing offers come out of Junior Day that I want to talk about, as well as a couple of very intriguing prospects that were set to be on campus with LSU that ended up not being on campus for LSU. You got a long way to go in the class of 2026, but what does that all mean? Also, Kyren Lacy's attorney has issued a statement. We'll go through a little bit of that. And then LSU baseball. Y'all, this is the last week without LSU baseball until, hopefully the final weekend in June. So we're going to go ahead and start dipping our toe into that. Plenty more here on LSU Daily as well. Again, though, if you want the exclusive baseball-only content, that's Musso at the Box. Subscribe on the YouTube channel as well as on your favorite podcast app. All of that is also greatly appreciated. So go ahead, buckle up, follow me on social media, Twitter X at Musso Matthew, Instagram Matthew Musso 1. You can find me on Facebook as well. And let's go ahead and get started. We will begin with Kyren Lacy and the statement from his attorney, Matthew Ory. I'm sure everyone is aware of what has happened with Kyren Lacy, but if you somehow aren't, brief refresher, Kyren Lacy was arrested and charged with negligent homicide, among other charges, as well, with a December automobile accident, a car accident, that claimed the life of a 78-year-old man. Sunday, his attorney, Kyren Lacy's attorney, I should say, Matthew Ory, released a statement basically declaring Lacy's innocence, mentioning that on the day of the accident, quote, reading from the statement, quote, on the day of the accident, Mr. Lacy was driving on a road with two lanes in each direction. While he briefly passed other vehicles, he safely re-entered his lane without incident. The collision that resulted in the death of Mr. Herman was not caused by Mr. Lacy's actions. The accident occurred directly in front of him when a second vehicle in the oncoming lane crossed the center line and collided with Mr. Herman's vehicle in which he was a passenger. Ory would also note that they believe through information that they have gathered that the vehicle that collided with Mr. Herman also was issued a citation. He noted that no time did Kyren Lacy's vehicle strike the rear of Mr. Herman's vehicle, nor did it hit any vehicles, and that he safely passed around the accident when it was safe to do so and never returned to the scene, as some media reports have stated. He also noted at the end that the pictures, graduation pictures, the training videos, everything that Kyren Lacy posted on social media was never intended to minimize the tragedy that happened, that he believed he was not at fault and continued with his daily activities. So, look, we'll see. You're going to let the legal process play out. What I will say is it's hard to find any happy ending in a story like this because a man lost his life. That is first and foremost. That is going to take precedent over everything else that happens with this case. Is a 78-year-old man, a U.S. military veteran, lost his life. And that's tragic, and it's sad, and you continue to just wish prayers and condolences upon his family as they continue to deal through that. But there is also a human element to this with Kyren Lacy, and if what his attorney is stating is true and proven through due process and the legal action, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, then obviously you can want that too, because Kyren Lacy worked hard for the opportunity that he has, and regardless of what happens here for him at the next level, it's going to take a hit because of this. But obviously, you do hope that, a young man, if he's not at fault, if he's not guilty, doesn't end up in prison. That's because that's a real thing you're looking at here with the charge of negligent homicide. But it is hard to find any type of happy ending in this story, just because no matter what, lives are changed forever, and the circumstances, of course, are just extremely tragic and unfortunate. Don't really have much else to say on it. We'll keep you posted as due process and the legal process continues to play out. Kyren Lacy did have a response of his own on social media to his attorney's statement, where he just said, trust the process, and some prayer hands and things of that nature. So as more comes about, we will obviously keep you up to date with any development that happens. To LSU's Junior Day over the weekend, the last major recruiting weekend here of the winter for LSU, and they hosted a number of elite prospects and doled out plenty of offers, but two of them in particular really stood out, and both of them dealing with local prospects in Louisiana, one for the class of 2026 and one for the class of 2027. We'll start with the class of 2026. So LSU extended an offer to Desrian Ellis. Ellis is out of Franklin Parish High School, where he plays all over the field. Recruiting services have him listed as a quarterback. Currently a 3-star, this is per 247, a 3-star and the number 67 ranked cornerback in the class. When you look at his season a year ago for Franklin Parish High School, he threw for over 2,100 yards and 31 touchdowns, also added 827 yards on the ground with 10 rushing touchdowns. The caveat here is LSU offered him as a cornerback for the class of 2026. Ellis announced the move himself on social media, posing with a picture with Blake Baker and Corey Raymond. So obviously, him being listed as a quarterback, unless you offered him as a cornerback, if his official designation in the class and the recruiting cycle changes, obviously his star rating and things of that nature, ranking, everything, that also could change. This is notable because Ellis is the first Louisiana corner to receive an offer from LSU in this cycle, and clearly by him playing quarterback and being the dual threat type of guy that he is, he's just an incredible athlete that LSU is after here. So first Louisiana cornerback offered by LSU, but one heck of an athlete. That's Desrian Ellis. The other offer that's incredibly intriguing takes place in the 2027 class. This happened on Saturday over the weekend. LSU offered athlete Javon Vital Jr. He is out of Hamilton Christian, and as Jarrett Roser noted from On Through the Bengal Tiger, this comes with a little bit of history. Vital is now the first player in Hamilton Christian history to receive a scholarship offer from LSU. And he's also one of the first 7 in-state prospects for 2027 to be offered by LSU. 5'10", 185-pound sophomore. This guy is on the rise, but it's a really, really quick rise. He is, when they say athlete, I mean, athlete. This is a guy who plays football and plays in all 3 phases, basketball, and has anchored a pair of state title relay teams in track. 3-sport guy that you're looking at. Again, as I said, 5'10", 185 pounds. Hamilton Christian is a 1A school, so you'll look at that aspect of it. That's the lowest classification you can have, but LSU's obviously had success with some guys, especially offensively, coming in from lower classifications and performing really, really well. He's also been to camp at Auburn this past summer as well as LSU, and really acquitted himself quite nicely in those SEC camps. So he's already kind of, showing the ability even at a young age. When you look at his season, 3,200 yards, 47 touchdowns. That was as a dual threat quarterback and a return specialist. He also plays defensive back for Hamilton Christian. So told you there, all three phases, and there you go, all three phases. To put it in perspective a little bit more, 9 sophomores earned All-State. There's 145 All-State selections across Louisiana's 5 classifications of football, high school football. 9 sophomores out of 145 total players earned All-State. He was one of them. This is going to be very, very intriguing to see, first of all, how his recruitment picks up. But LSU seems to definitely want to make him a priority earlier when talking about it. Talking about the offer, I should say. He did say, "Look, it's every kid from Louisiana's dream to get LSU to get that offer." So it feels great. Look, it's early for 2026. We were just talking about Ellis. It's even earlier now for 2027, talking about Vital. But they were 2 of the more intriguing offers to come out of Junior Day, given the history and just an athlete like Ellis, who's playing quarterback, but LSU's interested in him at corner. You saw that to an extent with Juwan Johnson here recently. Then they moved him to running back because they needed the help after Trey Holly's legal situation. So, it's a guy kind of in that vein. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Ellis is going to break, all the high school state records that Johnson did, yardage, touchdowns, all those things. But it's an extremely versatile guy. And then you look at Vital Jr., and it's the same thing. So 2 to keep an eye on as you go forward here with the class of 2026 and the class of 2027. The last thing for Junior Day, 2 guys that were supposed to be on campus with LSU that weren't are both commits. One's a commit, and the other is the top in-state recruit. So, Jaraylin McCoy was set to be on campus for Junior Day for LSU, committed to the Tigers at the Under Armour All-American game, decided instead to go to Ole Miss, which is interesting. This is, for what it's worth, his second visit to Ole Miss in 3 weeks. He is a Mississippi guy, so you expect a lot of competition there from from Ole Miss toward LSU, but it's February the 3rd. The traditional signing day for the 25 period has not even wrapped up. You're going to have a lot of time for Jaraylin McCoy, and as of this point, he's still committed to LSU, so you got plenty of time there. The other guy is Dylan Berriman, defensive lineman, 9th-ranked player in the state of Louisiana. He opted instead to attend LSU's campus, instead went to Mississippi State for their Junior Day. For what it's worth, Brian Kelly did visit Dylan Berriman this past week in person. So, look, they're still plenty much there, but it's always notable when you have a big event such as Junior Day and 2 guys who are supposed to be there don't show and end up at other SEC schools. So it is always notable to pass that along. But from all accounts, LSU had a very successful weekend with Junior Day. You have a long time, obviously, until the early signing period. Damn near a year. So let it all play out, and we'll see ultimately how that does finish for the Tigers. That's kind of the headlines from Junior Day. I wanted to bring that to you, and there you go. So we'll kind of move on from that now, and we'll talk some LSU baseball. As said off the top of the show, this is the last week where LSU won't have a baseball game until hopefully the last weekend in June. Tigers will scrimmage one more time at the end of this weekend, and then, or I should say probably three or four more times actually. And then they will start game week and be ready to open up against Purdue Fort Wayne on Valentine's Day for a 2 p.m. first pitch at the box. Gets 2025 started. Something I'm going to start doing here on LSU Daily, but also on Musso at the box, more in depth, is we're going to start kind of like position group previews and whatnot. So obviously the way that's going to go is, outfield, infield, catcher, pitchers, lineup, all those things broken up into different segments. because we're getting close and you're starting to be able to see some separation there. I want to start with the infield here today. And it's interesting because it's like, man, is LSU's infield set? And no, I don't think it's set, but I think it's pretty darn close. They have their guys at the top, if that makes sense. One thing I do believe is set is the left side of your infield in what will be the majority of your games. And that's going to be a combination of Stephen Milam and Michael Braswell. Being out there at scrimmages, I've seen them each play short and third extensively. Was out there on Saturday, and they were on different teams, so they each just got to play the full scrimmage at short. On Sunday, they were on the same team. Braswell started at short, Milam started at third, and then halfway through, they flipped. They each got 4 innings. Halfway through, they flipped. They have both been very, very, very good defensively in these scrimmages. And look, if you were listening to Musso at the Box last season, when Braswell was starting to struggle at short midway through, now he figured it out and played really well for you down the stretch in the field and at the plate. I was advocating just flipping him and Milam, moving Milam to short and letting Braswell go play second because you had Tommy White at third. We saw Stephen Milam play a little bit of short his freshman year in the pre-conference, and he played fine. The range is there. The arm is there, although there's still some questions from some about his arm at shortstop. But, I mean, the one thing I've seen, this is what I'll say about Milam's arm at short. The one thing that I've seen is while some of the throws end up short, they're not wild. They're on line. He's very accurate. And on Sunday, he hit Jared Jones in the chest every time. There might have been one throw that didn't hit Jones in the chest. One, maybe. But every other opportunity he got from shortstop, and sometimes deep short, it hit Jared Jones right in the chest. I am not concerned about the arm for Stephen Milam because of the accuracy. And he's got the arm strength too. But the accuracy is one reason I'm really not, because you have Jared Jones over there who has great glove work at first base. And if you put it close, chances are Jones is going to get it. And Milam's extremely accurate. So, yeah, that can happen. Braswell has shown off plenty of arm at third as well. And you know he can make the throw from short. You have two really good options there. And they just have to figure out which way they want to go. What I will say is I think it will be Stephen Milam at shortstop to start and Braswell at third. But that could literally be for one game, and then they kind of figure it out from there. Like, you could see that on opening day, and then Saturday when they take the field against Purdue Fort Wayne, those guys flip and play again. I don't think what you see on opening day is what they roll with immediately just out the gate for 56 games. But I think the combination on the left side of the infield, more often than not, when LSU's out there, will be Milam and Braswell. I think that is set. Jared Jones is obviously going to play first base. Okay? Like, that's he's a junior, he's a veteran, career 300 hitter, 42 homers, all those things. And, oh, by the way, he's fielded 990 in 2 years at first base. He's been awesome. He's going to play first base. Second base, I do believe, is a little bit more interesting. And that's where you see guys that have really pushed and are going to make it interesting. Like LSU, like I said, I don't believe the infield's set, but they have their top guys. And Tanner Reeves is one of their top guys, and he's also one that's going to make it very interesting. You look at Danny Dickinson, and he's a transfer from Utah Valley, and the preseason accolades that he's getting, D1 Baseball names him the number 3 second baseman in all of the nation out of the top 100. That guy's going to play. He has the potential. He's a junior drafter. He's the potential to play himself into the first round this season as well. You want to see how it's going to translate. It's a big jump for a couple of reasons. You're coming from Utah Valley, so you're coming from the WAC into the SEC. You're also coming from a place that has very high altitude to a place where the air is just constantly heavy and the humidity is 80%. Feels like Daly. That's different. How does everything translate? How does he make those adjustments? Because it's different playing in that altitude and then playing here in Baton Rouge. Now, one thing I will say is in the field, he's acquitted himself quite nicely. Dickinson, at the plate, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag so far in the scrimmages that I've seen. And I've been out there each of the last 2 weekends. But with the talent level that he has, he's absolutely going to get some run. The real interesting caveat is Tanner Reeves. Tanner Reeves is a guy that Jay Johnson is extremely high on. Not just Tanner Reeves himself, but the type of player that he is. Jay Johnson's own words were, he's a player that I've had a lot of success with. He's got a good frame. He's wiry, but he's got some power in there. Left-handed bat. Has hit a home run each of the last 2 weekends that I've been out there, both to right field, so both pull side. But he's also made some really, really nice plays in the field. It is a guy that can play each position on the infield. He played second base on Sunday. He played third on Saturday. I don't remember if he was on Milam's team or Braswell, but he played third. And he is a top-of-the-lineup bat. I mean, LSU's had him in the 3-hole at points here throughout these scrimmages. That guy's going to push for playing time. Same way I said right there with Milam and Braswell, flipping them early in the season. I could see that happening a little bit potentially at second base, where maybe Dickinson gets that opening day start, and then the next day Tanner Reeves is going to get some run. And you're going to kind of figure out where to go from there. But you have some really interesting options. The other one I will mention, he plays first base, is Ryan Costello, and I've been pretty impressed with him. Actually, the glove work around the bag. Jared Jones is going to get the lion's share of those reps, obviously, and we know why. We just kind of mentioned that. But Costello's intriguing because he hits the ball really hard, and so far in these scrimmages, he's had a knack for understanding the situation at the plate and just getting the run in and putting the ball in play. And that's as good as hits. I mean, that's going to get you playing time. You come in and drive in runs, but by any means necessary. You have seen him in the outfield a little bit, but we'll talk plenty about the outfield. I think that is actually becoming very, very set in stone. But Costello's just another name to look at. Costello and Reeves are the ones that make this interesting on the infield. I mean, I do believe Dickinson, Milam, Braswell, Jones are going to get your first crack unless something changes drastically down the stretch here in the preseason scrimmages. But you have guys like Reeves and Costello who at least make it intriguing. And then there's others. I mean, Mikey Ryan, shortstop out of Rummel, could serve as a great defensive replacement for LSU here early in his career. He's made some really nice plays with the glove in the field. You also have David Hogg, but he's played very sparingly, especially with the at-bats. That's kind of what's shown you the separation. It is the at-bats that those guys like Ryan, like Hogg, like Eddie Yaman, like those guys are getting. That has shown you kind of the separation there, where it's mainly Braswell, Milam, Reeves, Dickinson, Costello, and Jones getting the lion's share. And then also, you look for a guy at first base, Jake Brown has played first base for you last year. Seen him do it in the scrimmages as well. So, that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on. But if I had to pick today, LSU's opening day infield, I would tell you Jones, or we'll go left to right. I would tell you Braswell at third, Milam at short, Dickinson at second, and Jones at first, with a close eye on Tanner Reeves sliding in there somewhere else on the infield as well. That's going to wrap it up here for today. Of course, if you want more in-depth analysis on that, get over to Musso at the Box. That's the topic of today's show, is the infield preview. We'll go a little bit more in-depth, talk about some at-bats, things of that nature that we've seen from the guys. So get subscribed to that if you haven't already. Get subscribed to LSU Daily as well. Follow me on social media and be here next time for more on LSU Daily.